Hi there, I'm Daniel, and this is the Interactive Design and Prototyping Enrichment video series. In our first video, I will be introducing you to GitHub, explain to you what it is, how it works, and finally walk you through some hands-on basics. So, what is GitHub? GitHub is an online software version control service based on the Git revision system. It allows you to create public or private repositories to store and share your code with others in a project, while allowing you to track changes on every file in your project. Using Git is similar to using Subversion, which you used in IS306. There are some big differences though, so take time to learn more about it before you do anything other than what I explained here. Here's an example of how one might use GitHub to help you better understand it. Let's say you're planning to make a to-do list web app. You begin by visiting github.com, create a free account, and your first repository. I'm going to call my repository sample to do. Don't forget to leave your repositories public, otherwise the rest of the class can't see them. Now that you've created your first repository, you might want to add collaborators to work with you on your code. To do that, simply visit the setting tabs of your repository. Choose the collaborators menu, then add your friends' GitHub usernames into the repository. Next, we need to install the GitHub desktop client to use GitHub with your projects on your computer. To do that, visit windows.github.com if you use Windows, or mac.github.com if you use a Mac. Download and install the client and you're all set. After installing and launching the GitHub desktop client on your computer, sign in using your GitHub account, then clone that repository you just created onto your computer. This creates a local repository on your computer and a working folder where you will put your files. GitHub will prompt you to tell it where to save that repository. Be sure to remember where the working folder is saved. From now on, the GitHub client will track every change you make to the files in your working folder. You can now start putting all the files for your project in your working folder. Let's put a new HTML page in the folder now. Note that your local repository is not automatically synchronized with your working folder. Periodically, you need to save your changes to your local repository. This is known as committing. To do this, choose the files or even lines of code you wish to commit, add a little description of what you've changed so you can keep track of what you have committed, and finally press the commit button. After you have committed your changes to your local repository, you have to press synchronize to get them into your repository on GitHub's server. We call this the remote repository. Now your changes will be available to your team and everybody else. Synchronizing will also get any changes that your teammates make. Let's say you have a friend who you've added as a collaborator to your repository. The moment he clones that repository onto his computer, he will see all the changes you've made, commit some of his own changes, and finally synchronize those changes onto GitHub. GitHub will then merge his changes with any changes you've made in the meantime. Then, when you're ready to work again, you can just launch the GitHub client, synchronize the changes again, and you'll see the latest version of the code together with all the changes he's made. So, how does versioning come in? Let's say you've made a change that has somehow broken your app, and you'd like to roll back to an earlier version. Look through your list of changes and choose the commit you'd like to roll back to. If you write good descriptions every time you commit, it will be easy for you to find the commit you want. Otherwise, it will be hard. Select the commit you want and click roll back. Now your code will revert back to the state of that commit. That is why, apart from allowing your friends to better understand what you've done with your project, committing often is an important habit. GitHub has tons of other social features that make collaborating on your code fun, such as add replies and the ability to fork a public project so that you can take and build on someone else's project. One feature is known as GH Pages. It's a special branch in your repository where GitHub will upload and host a static website for you using whatever files and codes you've committed into their repository. To do that, you'll need to change your branch. Every repository supports multiple branches with master as the default branch. You can see what branch you're in by looking at the bottom corner of your GitHub client. To switch or create a branch, simply click on the icon of the branch and choose an existing branch, or make a new one. If you make one called GH Pages, GitHub will publish those files onto their web server for you after you synchronize. Let's synchronize now. Note that the synchronize button has changed to publish branch, since this branch doesn't exist yet on GitHub. After we synchronize, we can view these pages at http://yournusername.github.com/repository name. For example, my username is Daniel Zhou and my repository name is sample to do. So my page will be located at http://danielzhou.github.com/sample to do. Do note that it takes some time for GitHub to publish your page, so it won't be available immediately. So that's a quick look at GitHub. Let us know if you have any questions.